Shabbat Shalom. Today will be part 5 in the series Scriptures Often Ignored. And today I want to talk about the importance of keeping the Shabbat, but also the importance of just keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and how they are a memorial and a sign for us to keep. Because many people don't understand why it's important to keep the commandments, or why it's important to use the name Yahuwah, or why it's important to even just follow his word, or why Scripture is so important in our daily lives. And today I want to be sort of a guide and resource for that and to tell you why it's so important. And so today we're going to be talking about Ezekiel chapter 20, or Yakazkal chapter 20. Will be in verses 12 through 20, and I'll be cross-referencing some other places as well. Now listen to this and just listen to the dynamic here, and just listen to what Yahuwah tells uh, Ezekiel and just what he gives them. Actually, we'll start a little earlier. We'll start at verse 10. Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, and brought them into the wilderness. And I gave them my statutes and showed them my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in them. So what does this tell us? If we even do his commandments or walk in them, then we will live in them. We will have life. We will live. That is where we find our life, is in Yahuwah, is in his law, statutes, and commandments. But let's keep going, because we're going to see just how important they are, but more so how important the Shabbat is in keeping the Shabbat. So verse 12, it says, moreover also, Salakia, I gave them my Sabbaths, or my Shabbat, to be what? A sign between me and them, that they may know that I am Yahuwah that sanctify them. So what did Yahuwah give us to be a sign between himself and us? He gave us his Shabbat. But what has the church done? The church has not only taken away the Shabbat, but has given what? Sunday, sun worship. And because of that, they have broken what? The commandment. They've broken the fourth commandment, which is keeping the Shabbat. So what do we have to do? We have to keep the Shabbat, the Sabbath, the day of rest. And if you want, you can watch more of my video, How to Keep the Sabbath, because I go in more in depth about what we can and cannot do on the Shabbat. But it goes on to say, but the house of Yashraal rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they despised my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in them, and my Sabbaths they greatly polluted. Then I said I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out. So he gave us mercy, even though we transgressed against him in the wilderness, because he still loved us, and because he still had his commandment with us, and the commandment with Abraham. And he goes on to say, yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments and walked not in my statutes. But what did they do? They polluted my Sabbaths, for their heart went after their idols. Now, for those people who are still not awake, how are people polluting his Sabbaths today? By going to church on Sunday. Nevertheless, mine eye spared them from destroying them, neither did I make an end of them in the wilderness. But I said unto their children in the wilderness, walk ye not in the statutes of your fathers, neither observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. Because what were their statutes of their fathers, and what were their judgments? By going after other idols, going after other gods. We saw that when they went after the golden calf, while Moses was in the mountain with Yahuwah, writing down getting the law for 40 days and 40 nights. So we see exactly just what transgressing is. And by the way, if you don't know this, the definition of sin, it means to transgress against the law. Then it goes on to say, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. So not only are we supposed to learn the commandments and learn the statutes and learn the judgments, we are supposed to do them. And one of them includes honoring the Sabbath. So to honor the Sabbath, how do we do that? by resting on the Shabbat, by worshiping and learning about our Yahuwah Elohim on his Shabbat, on his set apart day that he has given us as a memorial and sign between us. But not only that, but making sure we are doing that and not following the ways of the world, which means not following Sunday sun worship. And verse 20 says, and hallow my Sabbaths. That means honor my Sabbaths and keep them and make them set apart and holy. And they shall be what? A sign. We see that word again, sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Yahuwah your Elohim. But like I said, what has the church done? What has Catholicism done? What has Christianity done? What has religion done? It has done the opposite. It has made Sunday sun worship the day of rest, transgressing against the law, transgressing against the sign that Yahuwah has given us. Yahuwah willing, I'm going to be doing a video talking about the mark of the beast because it's very important. Because many people and many Christians think that the mark of the beast is 666 and they think it's this RFID chip. I'm here to tell you that anything that transgress against the law of Yahuwah is the mark of the beast. Because when you look up the word mark, it also means a sign or a symbol. Well, according to Ezekiel chapter 12, chapter 20, Salakia, verses 12 through 20, it's according to him, the sign that he's given us is his Shabbats and his commandments. And I'm going to take you to another few places in the Bible that also talk about the signs that he has given us. So anything that does not fulfill these signs, anything that is against these signs or contrary to these signs, is the mark of the beast. Anything. So that includes Sunday worship, that includes religion, that includes Christianity, that includes the cross, that includes things like rosary beads and anything else, that any religious symbol that is not of Yahuwah, that is not the menorah, that does not remind you of the law, statutes, commandments, or the feast days, the holidays. That's the mark of the beast too, because it does not give homage or remembrance of the feast days of Passover and so on. Now, why is this important? Because as believers and as we're starting to walk into truth and journeying into truth, it's not enough just to read about the truth, but we also have to walk in the truth. We also have to do the truth. And what is the truth spiritually speaking? It is the law. It is the commandments. It's the first 5 books of the Bible. And I'm going to tell you where else that we see these signs and just how important it is to Yahuwah. Now here we are in Dabarim chapter 11, and I give credits to Living Branch for helping me find these scriptures. But in Deuteronomy chapter 11, we're going to go to verses 18 through 25, and you're going to see just exactly what it's talking about. But remember, this is the law now, but it says in the law, therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul. What words is he talking about? He's talking about his commandments, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. So what does that mean? That the signs, the commandments, the law, statutes will be a sign upon our hands and frontlets between our eyes. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them which thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, Slakia, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him, then will Yahuwah drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. So he will give us the reward, but what must we do? According to verse 22, we shall diligently keep all these commandments. Is it just talking about the 10? No, it's talking about all 613. And I know today we cannot keep all of them. However, that does not mean we cannot know them, because remember, as it says earlier, we are supposed to write them upon the doorposts of our houses. We're supposed to know them when we lie down and when we wake up. We're supposed to walk in them. We're supposed to teach them to our children. We are supposed to know them all the time. And because then do we walk in his ways and cleave to him. And we're supposed to love Yahuwah our Elohim. And like John 14:15 says, when the Messiah says, if you love me, keep my commandments. But yet Christianity teaches that the commandments are done away with. Are they? It's not looking like it. Let's keep going. Verse 24. Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness in Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. So that lets us know that Yashra'al spans more than just those borders that we see today. The Israel that Yahuwah has promised us we're supposed to have the land all the way to the Euphrates, which is present day Iraq. So all of that Middle Eastern land you see is ours. That is what he promised us. But when we start to walk in his ways, keep his commandments, keep his Shabbat, then will he give us all these things. And verse 25 says, there shall no man be able to stand before you, for Yahuwah your Elohim shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he said unto you. So therefore, when you start to follow Yahuwah and seek his ways and get away from Babylon, get away from Christianity, get away from the church, get away from Sunday sun worship, only then will Yahuwah strengthen you and increase you and make your enemies dread you. And this is especially true for you so-called black people, for you Israelites who may not know it yet, but honestly, really start getting into the law and start following the commandments, because as you can see, it's much more important than you think. And especially the Shabbat, because that is the sign that he's given us. But this isn't the only place we see it. We're going to go to a few more places where we see it again as well. Now, the actual passage that I want to focus on is Deuteronomy, or Dabarim, chapter 6, verses 4 through 12 in the KJV. But Yahuwah has really given me conviction just to read verses 1 through 12, so we're going to do that together. But it says, now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your Elohim commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whether you go to possess it. Do what? The commandments, the judgments, and the statutes, that thou mightst fear Yahuwah thy Elohim, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son, and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged, that you may have everlasting life. If you do what? Keep his statutes, keep his commandments, keep his laws, and keeping the Shabbat. Hear therefore, O Yashra'al, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Yahuwah Elohim of thy fathers hath promised thee, has promised us, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Yashra'al, Yahuwah our Elohim is one Yahuwah, and thou shalt love Yahuwah thy Elohim with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt look at this, bind them for a what? A sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, just as we saw in Deuteronomy chapter 11, and as we see here in the sign, just as we saw in Ezekiel chapter 20. But it goes on to say, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates, and it shall be when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells digged which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, then beware lest thou forget Yahuwah, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, or Mitzrayim, from the house of bondage. Now, Yahuwah willing, I'm going to do a video called The Second Exodus is About to Take Place, or A Greater Exodus is About to Take Place, and I actually want to be in camera in film to show you all. But what's about to happen? A second Exodus is about to take place. And just like the first one, the people that he gathers and the people that he protects will be those who what? Who followed his laws, statutes, and commandments, who kept his Shabbat, who kept his feast days to the best of their ability, and who are seeking him and getting away from Babylon. But stay tuned for the second Exodus is about to take place video. I plan to do that sometime next week, Yahuwah willing, but definitely stay tuned to that. Now, there's one more place I want to take you all. It's Shamut, or Exodus chapter 13 in the KJV. We're going to be reading verses 8 through 10. And like I said, I'll leave these links below so you could come check this out yourself. But it says, "And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which Yahuwah did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be, look again, for a sign upon thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that Yahuwah's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath Yahuwah brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep his ordinance, this ordinance, Lakia, in his season from year to year." What are the ordinances we're supposed to keep? The law, statutes, and commandments. Because that is the sign that he has given us. His laws, statutes, and commandments. And as we saw in Ezekiel 20, the Shabbat. That is the sign he has given us. So therefore, or the mark he has given us. So therefore, anything else then would be contrary to what the ways of Yahuwah are. Wouldn't that be the mark of the beast? You bet you. So therefore, the mark of the beast is really what? Anything that's not the commandments, anything that does not follow the commandments. Sunday sun worship, wearing a cross around your neck, because that goes against the first and second commandment. What else? Rosary beads, do any religious symbol or any type of religion, period, anything that is against his law, statutes, and commandments, the holidays, the partying, birthday parties, all that stuff, and all the pagan traditions embedded in that is the mark of the beast. It has nothing to do with 666. By the way, I know I'm kind of giving you all a sneak peek into what I'm going to be talking about in future videos, Yahuwah willing, but the mark of the beast, when you look at the actual 666 symbol that John the Baptist or Yehukanan saw, you would start to see that what Yehukanan saw was a Greek symbol. He saw a symbol. He didn't see numbers 666. That's not what he saw. And when you look at that symbol, you start to see that symbol embedded everywhere in Christianity, including on the pictures of Jesus Christ. Why am I telling you this? Because I do not want you to be deceived. I do not want you to be fooled, because things are about to start getting real fast, and we haven't seen anything. We have not seen destruction yet. It's at the door. But when things start to happen, I don't want you to be fooled into thinking that, oh, the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. Oh, if I take this RFID chip, then, oh, now I've accepted the mark of the beast. No, if you're wearing a cross around your neck, that's the mark of the beast. No, if you're about to celebrate, Halloween or Christmas or Easter or Valentine's Day or whatever other pagan holidays are out there, that's the mark of the beast. If you still go to church on Sunday and not honoring or following the Shabbat, well, then that is the mark of the beast. Because what's the beast? The beast, you can look at the beast as two things. One, you can look at the beast as the Roman Catholic Church, papal Rome, but also the beast is who? Religion. All religions, Christianity, Taoism, Buddhism, I was going to say Marxism, but any type of religion that's out there. And by the way, you may be asking, but isn't following the law, statutes, commandments, isn't that Judaism? Isn't that religion? The answer to that is no. Judaism is the exact opposite, ironically enough. Because if you really look at Judaism and just who is Jewish, I'm not going to even go into that right now, but what I want to tell you though is that this is a heritage, a culture, a way of life, a people's way of life. What Judaism has done is stolen that people's way of life, but what has Yahuwah done? He's been merciful, and he has been able to do what? Lead us and guide us into his truth, which is what? His law, statutes, and commandments. So, I don't know where you are in your faith or in your walk, but hopefully this video will help you with your spiritual truth and in your spiritual walk with Yahuwah, because I know, things are about to get real serious real fast. And if we don't have the wisdom right now, if we don't have the wisdom from the set apart Ruach, or the Holy Spirit, as some say, then we will be lost sheep. And so hopefully this video will help you all and help you all to seek the law, statutes, and commandments. Like I said, I highly recommend you all start reading the first 5 books of the Bible. Start getting into the law, statutes, and commandments. If you already haven't, really start to change your diet. Eat fruits and vegetables. Seek Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, and might, just as Deuteronomy 6:5 tells us. And really start to seek his word, because that's where you're going to find comfort. That's where you're going to find strength. And that's where you're going to find Yahuwah. You're not going to find it through through anything else. You're not going to find it through religion. You're not going to find it through any of that. And I can attest to this because I was Christian for 20 years and I could not find that true comfort, that true Yahuwah. I could not find my true Elohim in the church. And this is just for me. I know others, it may be different. Others may have different testimonies, but I'm just giving you my own. And I'm just really encouraging you on your spiritual walk and journey to really seek Yahuwah with all your heart. And actually, for Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5, it reminds me of a song by one of my friends, Hadara, and I can link her song below. But really seek Yahuwah with all your heart, that all may be well with you, and start to follow his Shabbat because it's more important than you think. So I just wanted to give you all this and leave you with all this. I'll leave the links below, but hopefully this will help you. With this scriptures often ignored, and hopefully the scriptures often ignored has been helpful for you. Please let me know, and please let me know if you have any scriptures or you have any requests that you want to talk about or want to be done. If you have any questions about church and about Sunday sun worship and about just any of that and about the Shabbat and about law, statutes, and commandments, please feel free. Don't hesitate to ask. And don't be a stranger, because this is a truth network and it's supposed to help other people get into truth and find truth of their own. So hopefully it's doing that. Like I said, I'll leave the links below, but this is Truth Unveiled. Shalom.